friends, welcome back to another DI-try video where I try out a DIY that I've never done before and we see how it goes. Today I'm going to be trying the Knitting Loom. So you can get these in a couple different ways. You can get circular ones and straight ones. This obviously is the straight one, and it says on here that it can be used to make socks, which blows my mind, a knitted quilt, a blanket poncho, fingerless mitts, or a single or double knit scarf, whatever that means. So today I'm going to be testing it out, trying a really simple design, and then I'm also going to follow a tutorial to try and make a twisted knitted headband. Hopefully that makes sense. I'll link the tutorial that I follow below and we'll see how it goes.
So this is voiceover Laura. Here I'm going to open up this loom, and I don't remember where I picked it up from. I have checked and I think pretty much this exact same one is available from Amazon, and I'm just taking it out the packaging here. It comes with this little tool that I'll use as I'm doing the loom knitting, and it also comes with a needle. I'm going to use this wool. I picked this up, I believe, from Aldi. They have it fairly regularly, like chunky yarn. And I'm tying a slip knot and just attaching it to the top here. So then I'm following the directions that came on the back of this packaging, and it advises that you just work in a figure 8 going under and then over each of these pegs. So starting from the top and working your way down, you just go under and over. So of course I've sped this up, I didn't just suddenly get super fast, and I'm just working my way down until I get to the bottom. This yarn's really fun because it's got different colours running through it. It's got the white and then like the mint green and the blue. So now I'm just going to karate chop it, I guess, just to make sure all those pieces are at the bottom. Now I'm going to work my way back up. It took me a minute to figure this out. Here I'm doing it wrong. So you'll notice that it didn't have that like crisscross design. I've made a mistake here, but the pattern that I'm doing is right. So watch what I did. I went over and under, and then I went up to the second peg on the right hand side, and I should have gone straight across to the first. But apart from that, I have the right design. So you want to go over and then under each of the pegs as you work your way back up to the top. Then I'm pressing everything down just so I felt like this would keep everything like nice and orderly and neat. And then you're going to take the bottom loop on each of those pegs and just lift it up and over the top. So I'll show you this nice and slow a couple times so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just using this little hook. It has a really nice soft grip on the handle, and you just lift that up and pop it over the top, and you want to do that on both sides of the loom. So once I've gone all the way down this side, I just flip it over and work on the other side and just lift each of those bottom loops up and over the top, and this is essentially what creates that knitting effect. Once you've finished, you just want to repeat those steps. Now we already have one loop on each of these pegs, so you just want to work your way down to the bottom and then lift the bottom loop over the top loop on both sides and then work your way back up. You're just following the exact same design as we did in those first two, so go back and watch that a couple times if you need to see exactly how you loop it around each of the pegs. And eventually your scarf will start to kind of come out of the bottom of the loom. Eventually you're going to reach a point where that section that we tied off at the start is kind of restricting what you're doing, so you'll be able to just remove that slip knot. I use this little tool to help me remove it, and then we can tie in this excess yarn. I keep forgetting the word yarn. That is a consistent throughout this video. And so I'm using the needle that came with this kit and or with this product, I guess, and I'm just going to weave it in and out of the knitted section just to hide that away. I do kind of tie it in a knot. I don't believe that's necessary, but I just don't kind of trust it. So I weave it in and out and tie a small knot and then cut away any of the excess, and that's how we deal with that excess from the start. Now I'm just going to carry on with this, and I'm not really making anything in particular, but I'm working until almost all of my yarn is done. I just have that little tail that's left at the top there. So this is my last row where I'm having to lift off that bottom loop and flip it up and over the top. Now I didn't do anything fancy with this. I have seen other people do really interesting designs where you don't follow such a basic pattern, but I'll let you do some research on that. I'm just showing you the basics. Now you might be wondering, how do I remove this from my loom? So I'll zoom in just a second, but you want to start at the opposite end of where your string is or where your excess yarn is, and you want to lift off one of the loops and then pull it through the loop on the other side. I'm going to zoom in so you can see a little clearer. So I'm working in a zigzag pattern from the bottom, and I'm lifting a loop onto my little hook and then lifting off another one, so I have 2 loops on my hook, and then I lift the back loop over the top and let it drop off, and that just seals this piece in, so you can see it here. So I have a loop on my hook, and then I'm pulling the next one off the peg and just looping one over the top of the other, and then working in a zigzag pattern up towards the top. So hopefully you can see clearly enough what I'm doing here, and this just holds everything together in place. It kind of, I believe the correct term is casting off. So at the start we cast onto the loom, and then at the end we cast off. So I'm just working my way across, lifting it up and over. Occasionally I did drop the loop that I was working on, but I managed to pick it up without too much difficulty. And then when you get all the way to the top, obviously you don't have the next loop to pull through. So that's when you use your excess yarn. So you just want to pull that excess yarn through that top loop and then thread it onto your needle and just work that in and out of the top of this blanket section, I guess, whatever it is we're calling this, this knitted section that you've created, and just weave that in and out and then come back on yourself to seal it in place. And it is not too bad, I have to say. I'm pretty impressed that I was able to do this. It did take me like over an hour, but for a first try, I would say that is not too bad at all.
So we did it. I managed to turn a ball of yarn like this into this. What it is exactly, I'm not sure. A tiny blanket, I guess. Where it's cast off, it's actually, can you see that? It's like really neat and tight. Where I started, it's a little looser, but that's okay. And I definitely could have made this a little thinner and much longer to have like a scarf design, or I could have kept going to make like a really long panel and then made another one, maybe another one, and had like a big blanket. So I guess that's kind of how you can turn this into a blanket. You can make like panels and put them together. You could even do like squares and make them all different colors, so you've got like a patchwork thing going on. In terms of how easy it was pretty easy once I got the hang of it. It didn't take too long. It reminds me of the loop knitting that I did. I'll kind of put that in whichever corner it goes in. It's similar to that, but it's a lot easier. I would say it's a lot more kind of kid friendly, because you can be halfway through and you can set this down and kind of come back to it, and everything's held in place by those plastic pegs. I really liked it. In terms of doing the other things that it says you can do, like making socks, and yeah, I think it's safe to say I'm not quite there yet, but really enjoyed it. I think I could definitely make a blanket or a scarf out of this, no problem.
So now I wanted to try the headband. I will have a link to the tutorial that I used. You'll notice that in the tutorial she's using a circular loom. However, she does mention in one of the comments that you can use a straight loom for this as well. So in theory, it should work. So I've tied a knot and then looped around the top of the peg. So we're kind of creating those 2 loops and then doing that same exact thing of lifting the bottom loop over the top. So here you'll see me do it a few times. I'm just looping around twice and then lifting the bottom loop up and over the top to cast on a stitch. And I do this 11 times because in the tutorial that's how many she says that you need, and I start at the very end of my loom because I want to have enough space later on where we have to get kind of fancy with this. So I'm not doing anything special here. She does do a knit then purl type of a pattern, but I was trying to aim for success, so I kept it simple and I just did a straightforward knit stitch. So I kept going with this until it was around 17 centimeters long, which is how long the tutorial says to make this before you do anything different. So then what we need to do is find the middle peg. If you remember, we did 11 stitches. So if we have 5 either side, then the kind of number 6 is the one that's in the middle. And we just lift off that loop and move it over to the left-hand side and pop it directly on top of that peg. So now we have a peg that doesn't have a stitch and one that has 2. Now we use our yarn to wrap around each of those and knit them together. For that one that already had 2, you still wrap the yarn around, you just lift the bottom 2 loops up and over. And then you just keep working as normal, as if this was the length of your entire project. So you just work your way backwards and forwards, knitting this until it's around 10 centimeters long, and then cut off the excess. Now it's time to tie another knot, and then we're going to work this second section in the same way until it's around 10 centimeters long. So I'm wrapping the string around, or the yarn around, and then lifting the loops up and over. One thing that I did find is, maybe because I was trying to film this, I found it was kind of squirming around all over my table. But there we go, we got there. So now I'm just using a spare piece of yarn and my needle to loop through each of those loops on the left hand side. As I say, I'll have a link below to the proper tutorial on this. And you just use this to be able to lift it up and move it across. And this is how you create that crisscross in your headband. So watch carefully here what happens with that bottom section of the fabric, because I think I messed up. See how it started to twist and I flipped it over? I don't think I should have done that. I'm not 100% sure if it would have made a difference, but there we go. So here you want to just add each of those white loops onto one of the pegs. So I'm threading them onto the green pegs, and I made sure to leave one gap in the middle. So we're essentially recreating what we started with, which would be 5 pegs, an empty one in the middle, and then another 5, and we'll be able to add a knit stitch to that one in the middle, so we end up with 11 stitches. Hopefully that makes sense to you. So I've just pulled out that excess yarn that we just used to help transfer it over, and then I'm going to start knitting and just including that peg in the middle. And you keep going until it's around the same length as the other piece, so around 17 centimeters again, and then it's time to cast off. Now, because I'm working with a straight loom, if I just did this kind of up and over the top, I would permanently seal this around my loom. So you want to make sure you thread the bottom pieces through that gap in the middle of your loom, and then you'll be able to add each of the loops onto the pegs. So here I'm just going to add them onto the pegs so they become kind of the top and bottom loops. Again, hopefully I haven't lost you and this is making some sense. And then I'm going to use a needle just to thread through each of those, essentially tying them together. So I'll work my way through, I'll do that all the way to the right and then all the way to the left again, and then just use this little tool to cast these pieces off, and then it will be freed from my loom. I tied a knot in the top here and then cut away any of the excess, and then that is the headband finished.
It looks really cute. I mean, it looks like it's supposed to. It looks like a twisted headband. Let's try it on. Hold on.
So I decided to fast forward this and mute it. I kept getting tangled in my headphones and in my hair, and yeah, overall just not having a great time. So I thought I'd leave it in and fast forward it and show you.
This isn't right. What? How is this? Hold on. So I don't know if this is, I mean, let's be honest, this is probably me not getting it right in the tutorial, but I actually think these two, can you see these? Look, I got a little stringy here I need to cut off. I think these two pieces, I should actually just tie something right through that cross in the middle to hold those two pieces together, and I think it'd be a little easier to put on and take off then. But let's keep going. Let's try again. Hold on. So that's where I want it. Pull down. It's maybe a little big as well. So I probably could have made it a little bit smaller. Oh. I mean, she's on. She's got the little twisty design. it. Yeah, this is me like now, like I'm gonna start an Etsy, I'm gonna sell these. I'm not, but right now I'm feeling it. So I have to say, I'm pretty impressed for something that I made with not too much time. It wasn't too difficult. Obviously I simplified the design. I didn't do the knit then purl, which is shown in the tutorial that I've got linked below, but you know, you got to kind of keep things where your skill level's at. And I'm gonna wear this. I like it. I'm definitely gonna tie a knot through these two pieces. So I'm just gonna like take some what's this stuff called? Yarn. I'm gonna take some yarn like through this hole and then through here as well, and just kind of tie that together so it's got like a little stitch to hold those two pieces together, because they keep wanting to like separate, and that's not the one. So there we have it. My hair's looking extra interesting now. Let's be honest, it was not much better at the start of the video, but there we have it. Thank you for joining me and following along in this DI-trY. I think if you've seen these and you want to pick one up and give it a go, it is a lot of fun. It'd be really great to do it with kids. They would probably be better than I just was. Tends to be the way. But no, definitely give it a go. That is an example of how you can use a straight loom and some realistic results that you could expect if you have a little bit of DIY experience and you give this a try. So thanks so much for joining me today. I hope to see you back here again soon for the next video. If you've liked this video, you can let me know in the comments, or you can ring the... wait, no, that's not right. You can click the like button, and if you want to be notified when I post new videos, you can ring the bell to receive those notifications. Thanks for joining me. I hope to see you back here again soon. Bye for now.